Let me tell you something real. In a world that's loud, crowded, and constantly pulling at your attention, most people never discover who they truly are. They're too busy chasing validation, proving points, watching other people win, and wondering why they feel stuck. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. You don't lack talent, luck, or opportunity. You lack focus, not focus on the world. Focus on yourself. Because the moment you decide to lock in on your own growth, your own discipline, your own vision, that's when everything starts to change. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's strategic. It's survival. It's the foundation of greatness. Focusing on yourself is one of the highest forms of respect you can show your own life, because it means you finally understand the value of your time, energy, and presence on this earth. Time is the one resource you can never earn back, and yet most people give it away carelessly to distractions, unnecessary arguments, other people's expectations, and opinions that don't build anything meaningful. When you choose to focus on yourself, you're making a powerful statement. My life is not disposable. My energy is not free, and my future deserves intention. That shift alone changes how you move through the world. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they live in reaction mode. They wake up responding to messages, scrolling through other people's lives, reacting emotionally to situations that don't align with their goals, and getting pulled into drama that offers no return. Years pass, and they wonder why they feel stuck, exhausted, or unfulfilled. Focus breaks that cycle. It moves you from reacting to building. Instead of letting the world decide how your day goes, you decide where your attention belongs. And whatever you give your attention to consistently is what your life becomes. Respecting your life through focus also means understanding that not everything deserves your response. Arguments, negativity, and constant noise drain your mental strength. Focus teaches you restraint. It helps you pause and ask, will this matter in 5 years? Will this move me closer to the person I'm trying to become? If the answer is no, you let it pass. That discipline isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's choosing progress over pride and growth over temporary emotional relief. When you focus on yourself, you begin to invest instead of spend. Every focused day is like putting a deposit into your future. You invest in your skills, your mindset, your health, and your vision. Even small actions, reading instead of scrolling, training instead of procrastinating, learning instead of complaining, compound over time. At first, the results are invisible, and that's where many people quit. But focus isn't about immediate rewards. It's about long-term ownership of your life. The people who look lucky later are usually the ones who stayed focused when no one was watching. There's also a deeper level to this respect. Focusing on yourself means honoring your inner voice instead of constantly seeking validation. You stop needing approval to move forward. You stop explaining your goals to people who don't understand your vision. That self-trust builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. When you trust yourself enough to focus, you stop outsourcing your self-worth to the outside world. You become internally driven, and that makes you harder to break. A simple example shows this clearly. Imagine two people with the same dream of starting a business. One spends most of his time debating online, responding to criticism, comparing himself to others, and waiting for encouragement. The other quietly focuses on learning, saving money, improving his craft, and building step by step. After a few years, the first is still talking about what he wants to do, while the second has something real to show, not because he was smarter, but because he respected his life enough to protect his focus. In the end, focus is not about isolation or arrogance. It's about alignment. It's choosing what truly matters and giving it your best attention. When you focus on yourself, you stop living on autopilot and start living with purpose. You reclaim your time, guard your energy, and build a future that reflects your effort. That is respect at the highest level. Respect for who you are now and who you are becoming. Growth truly begins the moment comparison ends, because comparison keeps you mentally trapped in a race you were never meant to run. When you constantly measure your progress against someone else's timeline, you lose sight of your own path. You start judging yourself based on outcomes you can't control and circumstances you didn't choose. Someone else's success might be built on years of support, access, or opportunities you never had, while your journey may have started from survival mode, confusion, or struggle. Comparing the two isn't just unfair, it's destructive to your momentum. Comparison steals focus, and focus is the fuel of growth. The more you watch what others are doing, the less energy you have to invest in what you should be doing. You begin to question your pace instead of trusting your process. You rush steps that require patience or quit too early because you believe you're behind. But growth doesn't follow a universal clock. Some people bloom early and fade, others grow slowly and last. The problem with comparison is that it makes you blind to the value of delayed progress, even though delayed progress often builds the strongest foundation. When comparison dominates your mindset, gratitude disappears. Instead of recognizing how far you've come, you obsess over how far someone else seems to be. That mindset creates frustration, envy, and self-doubt, none of which help you improve. You start doubting your abilities, even if you're doing everything right. Over time, this mental noise weakens discipline because it replaces clarity with pressure. Growth needs calm consistency, not emotional chaos. Ending comparison doesn't mean ignoring excellence or pretending others aren't winning. It means understanding that their win is not your loss. When you focus on yourself, comparison loses its grip and curiosity replaces insecurity. Instead of asking, why are they ahead of me? You ask, what can I improve today? That question is powerful because it puts you back in control. You stop being a spectator of other people's lives and become an active builder of your own. Focusing on your own progress allows you to measure success the right way, against who you were yesterday, not against who someone else is today. That shift builds confidence because improvement becomes visible. Even small wins matter when you're locked into your own lane. You start noticing how your discipline is stronger, your mindset is sharper, and your habits are cleaner than before. Growth becomes personal, not competitive, and that's when it becomes sustainable. Comparison also distracts you from your unique strengths. Everyone has different gifts, learning speeds, and ways of creating impact. When you compare, you often try to copy paths that don't align with your nature. You force yourself into strategies that worked for others but don't fit you. Ending comparison allows authenticity to grow. You stop trying to be a replica and start becoming refined in your own way. That authenticity is what creates long-term success, not imitation. A simple example makes this clear. Imagine two people learning the same skill. One constantly checks how fast others are progressing, feels discouraged, and skips fundamentals to catch up. The other focuses on mastering one level at a time, even if it takes longer. Months later, the first feels burned out and inconsistent, while the second moves with confidence and control. The difference wasn't talent, it was focus. One compared, the other committed. In the end, comparison doesn't motivate growth, it interrupts it. True growth begins when you accept that your journey is yours alone and commit to improving one step at a time. When you stop measuring yourself against others, you free your mind to work, learn, and evolve at the pace that's right for you. That freedom is what turns steady effort into unstoppable progress. Discipline creates confidence because confidence is not built on feelings or hype, but on evidence you give yourself through consistent action. Motivation is emotional and temporary. It rises and falls depending on mood, comfort, or circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It shows up whether you feel inspired or not. When you choose to act despite resistance, fatigue, fear, or uncertainty, you begin proving something important to yourself, that you can be trusted. And self-trust is the real foundation of confidence. Most people believe confidence comes first and action comes second. But in reality, it works the other way around. You don't wake up confident and then start working. You start working. And confidence slowly follows. Every time you do what you said you would do, especially when no one is watching, you build internal credibility. You stop relying on external validation because your belief in yourself is no longer based on opinions, but on experience. You've seen yourself push through discomfort, so doubt has less power over you. Discipline also removes the need for constant reassurance. When you lack discipline, you constantly question yourself. You wonder if you're capable, if you're good enough, if you'll quit like before. But when discipline becomes part of your identity, those questions fade. You already know how you respond to pressure because you've trained yourself through action. Confidence becomes quiet and grounded, not loud or performative. You don't need to announce your goals because you're too busy working toward them. Showing up tired builds confidence because it teaches you that energy is not a requirement for progress. Commitment is. Showing up broke builds confidence because it reminds you that your circumstances don't control your effort. Showing up uncertain builds confidence because it proves that clarity comes from movement, not waiting. Each time you show up anyway, you collect proof that excuses no longer define you. That proof becomes mental armor. Over time, fear loses its grip because you've already faced it repeatedly and survived. Discipline also trains emotional control. You stop being ruled by comfort and avoidance. Instead of asking, do I feel like it? You ask, what needs to be done? That shift is powerful. It turns you from a reactive person into a reliable one. Reliable people trust themselves, and people who trust themselves move with confidence. They don't panic at setbacks because discipline has already taught them patience and resilience. Another reason discipline creates confidence is that it aligns your actions with your values. When you live out of alignment, saying one thing and doing another, you feel internal tension and self-doubt. Discipline closes that gap. Your words and actions match. That alignment brings peace, and peace strengthens confidence. You walk differently when you know you're doing the work, even if results haven't shown up yet. A short example makes this clear. Imagine someone who wants to get physically fit but has failed many times before. In the past, they waited to feel motivated, went hard for a week, then quit. This time, they decide to rely on discipline instead. They commit to short workouts every day, even on days they feel tired or discouraged. No one praises them. No one notices at first. But after a few weeks, something changes. They stand straighter. They stop doubting whether they can commit to things. Even before major physical results appear, their confidence grows, not because they look different yet, but because they know they didn't quit. That inner shift becomes the real win. In the end, discipline creates confidence because it turns promises into actions and actions into identity. You don't become confident by convincing yourself. You become confident by keeping your word to yourself. And once you've done that enough times, confidence stops being something you chase and becomes something you carry. Silence becomes a weapon the moment you understand that not everything needs to be explained, announced, or defended. When you are truly focused on building something meaningful, talking less is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of control. Most people leak their energy through constant explanation. They announce plans too early, argue with people who don't believe in them, and seek validation before results exist. Every unnecessary word invites distraction, doubt, and outside opinions that can slowly poison clarity. Silence, on the other hand, keeps your vision protected and your energy concentrated where it belongs. When you speak too much about your goals, you often mistake talk for progress. The brain receives a sense of accomplishment just by sharing intentions, which can reduce the urgency to do the actual work. Silence removes that false satisfaction. It forces you to face the work itself. Instead of gaining temporary motivation from praise or attention, you build real momentum through action. Quiet focus creates pressure in the right direction toward execution. Silence also shields you from unnecessary resistance. Not everyone needs to understand your vision, and not everyone ever will. When you explain yourself to doubters, you place their opinions on the same level as your purpose. That's dangerous. Doubters don't need convincing, they need evidence. And evidence is built in silence through consistent effort over time. When you stop arguing and start building, you conserve mental strength. You no longer waste energy proving yourself to people who were never meant to walk your path. Another powerful aspect of silence is clarity. Noise creates confusion. Opinions pull you in different directions. Silence gives you space to hear your own thoughts, instincts, and inner voice. It allows you to refine your strategy without outside pressure. In quiet focus, you can honestly evaluate what's working and what's not. That self-awareness sharpens decision-making. While others are busy talking about what they want to do, you're calmly adjusting your approach and moving forward. Silence also builds patience, which is essential for long-term success. When you constantly announce progress, you feel pressure to deliver quickly, even if the foundation isn't ready. Silence removes that pressure. It allows you to grow at the right pace instead of rushing for approval. True transformation takes time, and silence gives time room to work. While others are explaining delays, you're strengthening the structure behind the scenes. There's also a quiet confidence that comes with silence. You don't need to broadcast your effort. when you trust your process. That confidence is unshakable because it doesn't depend on applause. It's rooted in discipline and consistency. When results finally appear, they speak with far more authority than words ever could. Silence turns your work into a statement instead of an argument. A short example makes this clear. Imagine two people with the same ambition to change their lives. One constantly talks about what they're going to do, posts about their plans, and argues with anyone who doubts them. The other says very little. They wake up early, work quietly, learn consistently, and improve daily without announcing it. Months later, the first is still explaining why things didn't work out, while the second doesn't need to explain anything. The results explain it for them. The difference wasn't intelligence or opportunity. It was silence paired with action. In the end, silence is not about hiding or fear. It's about discipline, focus, and respect for your vision. When you stop talking and start executing, you protect your energy and sharpen your direction. While others are busy explaining who they want to become, you're quietly becoming it. And when the transformation is complete, silence turns into impact, loud, undeniable, and earned. Pain becomes purpose when you stay focused because focus gives direction to suffering instead of letting it scatter your energy. Everyone experiences pain in some form: loss, rejection, failure, disappointment, or betrayal. Pain itself is unavoidable, but becoming broken by it is not. What separates people who grow from people who stay stuck is not the intensity of their pain, but the clarity of their focus during it. Without focus, pain turns into bitterness, self-pity, or distraction. With focus, pain becomes information, motivation, and ultimately transformation. When pain hits, the natural reaction is emotional chaos. The mind searches for escape, blame, or validation. That's where many people lose years of their life, replaying what went wrong, who hurt them, or why things weren't fair. Focus interrupts that spiral. It doesn't deny the pain, and it doesn't pretend everything is fine. Instead, it asks a powerful question: what can this teach me, and how can I use it? That question shifts pain from something that happens to you into something that works for you. Focus gives pain meaning by attaching it to growth. When you stay focused, you stop wasting pain and start extracting value from it. You analyze instead of collapsing. You adjust instead of quitting. Pain sharpens awareness when you focus. You see your weaknesses more clearly. You recognize patterns you ignored before. You understand what needs to change. That awareness is uncomfortable, but it's also necessary. Pain exposes what comfort hides. Another way focus turns pain to purpose is by preventing emotional detours. Many people cope with pain by numbing themselves through distractions, habits, or avoidance. That may ease the feeling temporarily, but it delays healing and growth. Focus keeps you grounded in forward motion. Even small, disciplined actions during painful seasons prevent stagnation. You may not feel strong, but focus helps you act strong. Over time, actio. N rebuilds belief, and belief rebuilds identity. Pain also deepens resilience when guided by focus. Each time you endure hardship without losing direction, you strengthen your mental endurance. You learn that pain doesn't mean stop, it means adapt. That lesson becomes part of who you are. Later, when challenges arise again, you don't panic as easily because you've survived before. Focus teaches you that struggle is not a sign you're failing, it's often a sign you're evolving. Purpose is born when pain aligns with something bigger than emotion. When you stay focused, pain stops being random. It becomes part of a larger narrative. You realize that what hurt you can shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. Eventually, your pain becomes a source of depth. It gives your goals substance and your actions conviction. You move differently when you know what it cost you to get there. A short example illustrates this clearly. Imagine someone who faced repeated rejection early in their career. Each rejection hurt, damaged confidence, and created doubt. At first, the pain tempted them to quit or blame the system. But instead of giving in to frustration, they stayed focused on improving their skill every day. They studied their mistakes, refined their approach, and kept showing up quietly. Over time, the same rejection that once discouraged them became fuel. When opportunities finally came, they were prepared. Not just skilled, but mentally hardened. The pain didn't disappear, it transformed into purpose. In the end, pain only destroys people who lose focus. When you stay focused, pain becomes a teacher, a trainer, and a test. It strips away illusions, strengthens discipline, and clarifies what truly matters. Focus doesn't erase the struggle, but it gives it direction. And when struggle has direction, it no longer controls you. You use it to build a life you were meant to live. Consistency beats talent every time because talent is only potential, while consistency turns effort into results. Talent can give someone a head start, but without regular action, that advantage slowly disappears. Many talented people rely on what comes naturally to them, assuming it will always be enough. Over time, that mindset creates stagnation. Skills dull, discipline weakens, and opportunities pass by. Consistency, on the other hand, doesn't depend on natural ability. It depends on commitment. It shows up daily, even when progress feels invisible, and that steady presence is what builds real mastery. When you act consistently, you create momentum. Small actions done every day may seem insignificant in the moment, but they compound in ways most people underestimate. Improvement doesn't usually arrive in dramatic leaps. It arrives quietly through repetition. Each focused effort stacks on the last, strengthening skills, sharpening judgment, and building resilience. While talent might impress early, consistency dominates over time because it never stops working. It keeps moving forward when motivation fades and when conditions aren't perfect. Consistency also creates reliability, and reliability creates trust, first with yourself, then with the world. When you repeatedly do what you say you will do, you build self-respect. That inner confidence doesn't come from believing you're gifted. It comes from knowing you won't quit. Talented people often struggle here because when things stop coming easily, they aren't prepared to push through resistance. Consistent people expect resistance. They plan for it. They understand that progress includes boredom, frustration, and slow days, and they keep going anyway. Another reason consistency outperforms talent is that it forces learning. When you show up daily, mistakes become feedback instead of failure. You refine your approach, correct errors, and grow stronger through experience. Talent without consistency avoids discomfort, but consistency embraces it as part of the process. Over time, the consistent person becomes skilled not because they were born that way, but because they earned it through repetition and patience. Consistency also protects you from chasing shortcuts. When you're focused on daily progress, you stop looking for quick wins or external validation. You understand that sustainable success is built, not hacked. This mindset keeps you grounded. Instead of trying to do everything at once, you focus on doing the right things repeatedly. That clarity saves energy and prevents burnout. While others jump from strategy to strategy, the consistent person compounds progress by staying the course. Talent may get attention, but consistency builds outcomes. History is full of people who were overlooked at first because they weren't the most gifted, yet they surpassed everyone through discipline. Consistency allows you to outlast, outlearn, and outgrow those who rely only on ability. Over time, talent becomes less important than habits, and habits are shaped by consistent action. A short example makes this clear. Imagine two people learning the same skill. One has natural talent and improves quickly at first, but practices only when they feel inspired. The other struggles early, but practices a little every day, even when it's boring or difficult. Months later, the talented person has plateaued, while the consistent person keeps improving. Eventually, the gap closes, and then reverses. The consistent person doesn't just catch up, they surpass, because their growth never stopped. In the end, consistency wins because it's dependable. Talent is a possibility, consistency is a guarantee. When you commit to small, focused actions daily, you build something unbreakable. You don't need to be extraordinary to achieve extraordinary results. You just need to be consistent long enough. That's how focus turns effort into excellence and potential into reality. Your vision must be bigger than your mood because emotions are temporary. But the life you want to build requires consistency, resilience, and commitment that outlast fleeting feelings. Every person experiences days of fatigue, doubt, fear, or frustration, and it is normal to want to stop, delay, or take shortcuts. However, the problem arises when you let these temporary emotional states dictate your actions. If you wait to feel motivated, inspired, or confident every single day, you will never achieve anything significant. Your vision, the life you're working toward, the goals you've set, the impact you want to make cannot rely on your mood. It must rely on discipline, commitment, and belief in the bigger picture. Emotions are unpredictable. Some mornings you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other mornings you feel defeated before the day even starts. If you let these fluctuations control you, progress will be slow and inconsistent. Greatness is not about feeling ready. It's about moving forward even when you don't feel like it. The most successful people in the world understand that action drives emotion, not the other way around. You don't wait for courage to appear. You cultivate it by stepping into discomfort repeatedly. Each time you act, despite your mood, your vision gains momentum and your confidence grows. This is how small, disciplined actions compound into lasting success. Your vision being bigger than your mood also requires patience and long-term thinking. Life doesn't reward temporary feelings of motivation. It rewards consistency over years, sometimes decades. When your goals are large and meaningful, they require sustained effort even during seasons of boredom, pain, or frustration. A workout feels uncomfortable. A study session feels tedious, and progress may seem invisible at first. But when your vision is clear, these temporary discomforts take on meaning. They are no longer obstacles. They are the building blocks of the future you are committed to creating. Mood becomes irrelevant because your purpose is bigger than any fleeting feeling. When you allow your vision to dominate over your emotions, you also develop resilience. Each time you push through a low mood day, you prove to yourself that external conditions, how you feel, what's convenient or what's easy, do not control your life. This inner strength becomes self-reinforcing. The more you act regardless of mood, the more you trust yourself, the more disciplined you become, and the more unstoppable your pursuit of success turns into. On the other hand, when mood dictates your actions, you remain reactive instead of proactive, and your potential remains unfulfilled. A short example illustrates this perfectly. Imagine a student preparing for a crucial exam that will determine their career path. Some days they feel motivated and study with focus. Other days they feel exhausted, frustrated, or disinterested. If the student allowed their mood to decide when to study, they would fall behind, and the exam could fail to reflect their true potential. Instead, they commit to studying daily, regardless of how they feel, sometimes for just an hour, sometimes longer. Over time, this consistent action builds mastery, confidence, and results. The vision of their future career is bigger than any temporary mood, and that commitment carries them to success. In the end, your vision must be bigger than your mood because emotions are temporary, but the life you want is not. Waiting for inspiration guarantees delay, while acting through discomfort guarantees growth. When you train, learn, and push even when it's uncomfortable, you turn commitment into results. Your vision becomes a guide that keeps you moving forward, no matter how you feel. That is how ordinary effort becomes extraordinary achievement, and how potential transforms into reality. Let me leave you with this. The world doesn't reward potential, it rewards execution. And execution starts with focus. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Focus on your habits, focus on your mindset, focus on your growth. Cut the noise, cut the excuses, cut the need for approval. When you focus on yourself long enough, you don't just change your situation, you change your identity. You become someone who can't be ignored, not because you demanded attention, but because your results spoke louder than words. Stay focused, stay disciplined, stay patient. Your true potential isn't hidden from you. It's waiting for you to lock in and claim it.